It is exactly 8:42 a.m. News and views on Cllr Media. Welcome back. My name is Julie Ali. Thank you for your company this morning. We're now going to be talking about that horrendous situation that we found ourselves in over the past so many hours. It was supposed to have been 58 hours. I think certain areas in and around Johannesburg are complaining that it's way beyond the 58 hours. What am I talking about? Simply the water shutdown. And to add insult to injury, we also had issues around stage 6 load shedding. Let's talk to someone in the know, and that is, of course, Councillor Stuart Marais of Ward 54. How has this impacted on communities all around, not only Ward 54, but I should imagine the greater Johannesburg area? A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Morning and morning to the listeners.
Have you been working extremely hard because of this horrendous situation, the water shutdown, and obviously stage 6 electricity shutdown?
Yeah, I must say we have, and I don't want to boast and say, but I was one of the councillors that was constantly with the trucks, making sure that they got refilled, making sure that I could try and get somebody. Obviously, very painstaking is that one day I couldn't get a tanker, and that's very hard to communicate that to your residents that don't have water. Well, I must say from the onset, we said to the people that we haven't got enough tankers, and they said to us that that is the best they could do, and then you have to say, what do? You got to do the best you can, and I knew by remote control it wasn't really going to happen, so I and a few of my branch members got involved, and we were the trucks all the time. Well, with that truck, with mainly one truck every day, so that's what we did. If I say to you, we left last night at about 9:30, the last water hole, and we retired because we had a very long day the 2 days before that. So, yeah, I must say the load shedding didn't affect us that badly because Eskom is not load shedded. Eskom is not load shedding Rand Water. But I've also got a backup generator in my towers, but you have to have water to use the generator, which we didn't have till yesterday morning-ish. I got to the info that the water was coming in.
Okay, so Councillor, Ward 54 covers which areas?
Sure, it's a vast area. I'll name them for you. It's a Suiderwoord, which unfortunately I had a Rand Water unexpected repair in that area. So I was off there Friday. Obviously, they were screaming because they normally shouldn't be affected. Winchester Hills, Mondio, Allen Manor, Ridgeway, Crown Gardens. It is parts of it is the whole of Boyson's Reserve. The Teta, which is the place or the suburb where Gold Reef City is, and then that's basically every suburb in my ward.
Robertsham also falls under your ward, does it not?
No, it doesn't,
No.
but it's like
Okay.
it's borderline, and I was also overseeing that area as well with trying to assist in that area because basically where your studio is, that Xavier Road splits my suburb with Robertsham, but it's so intertwined because family members stay in different sides, and all the messages get rebroadcast and transmitted to other. So cannot be involved because they phone you and say, "What's happening?" Oh my gosh! Then me being a people's pleaser, I try and help wherever I can.
Okay, so we do know that over the past few weeks, there have been huge problems regarding water in the area. Apart from this planned maintenance shutdown, prior to that, these areas have been without water on and off for weeks on end. Has that situation been resolved finally? Would this planned maintenance that happened over these 58 or more hours address that particular issue as well?
Well, I would be hesitant to say that, but now with saying that, I have to say to you, last night some of the residents were contacting me and saying, the areas that usually are the last to get were getting water last night. So I don't know. I will find out because I would most probably still be caretaking in that ward for a little bit. In a very, if I say it to you, I caretake because I care. and I'm not officially the person there, but as I say, it's there. But I think the repairs are mainly done to the infrastructure that was aged down further down, and they fixed that there. I'm hoping, but the problem in that area is that we have a situation where the pipes are, let's say, they step down into a smaller gauge of a pipe, and it is very reliant on the system being fully charged and running optimally. Because if it isn't, that is the first, those 12 roads or 13 roads always seem to be without water. And I'm hoping, and let's say, fingers crossed, you can see that if that has mitigated that problem, then I think we would have a lot more happier residents in Robertsham, I'll be honest with you.
As we speak now, can you safely say that water has, the situation has been fixed and everyone in Ward 54 or most of Ward 54 have taps that are now running very, very efficiently? There's no problem with water because we've heard and I know this falls out of your ward, but Randburg and Roodepoort residents are complaining, the greater Randburg and Roodepoort area residents are complaining that they're either getting water coming, trickling through the taps or no water at all. And I know it's out of your jurisdiction, but there does now still seem to be problems in other parts of Johannesburg. As far as Ward 54 is concerned, are you
Well,
confident it's all systems go?
yeah, I must say, and I'm going to address your the issue with the Randburg side. I must be, and I'll say it. Let's give credit where credit is due. Joburg Water had set up meetings with us, with all the councillors of all the wards. We were on one yesterday for 3 hours, and they discussed all the areas and the problematic things. And that is one of the problematic areas. There is extra water coming into the system. 100 megaliters is coming into the system, which is, I think, the reason why we recovered so quickly. And I want to say also to everybody and to yourself, we did advocate that it would take 3 days for the repair and anything up to 15 days. Well, I think 15 days would have been the worst scenario, but there are problematic areas that might go into the 15 days. But I think a realistic target, which I had set to myself, was this morning that we would pump what they started late last night, and I thought they would pump this morning, which I must say now in my ward, there are very little pockets that are struggling. There are obviously the problematic streets, which are always affected. They are the last outposts, as I call them. So we'll be focusing on that. I have a water tanker on standby just to help the people, but I've also asked that that tanker maybe come later during the afternoon because it's difficult. A lot of people are not at home now, and I'd like them to get water because I must say this to you: most of the shopping centers or big shops didn't have water left. They had a roaring trade in this time.
Absolutely. I noticed that as well when I went to the shopping center, people with trolleys full of bottled water. But hey, you know what? That also is a situation with the haves and have nots. People that can afford to buy the water would do that. But what about the poor people that didn't budget for this eventuality to go out and stock up with water? So we need to, really think about those people as well. When you talk water tankers, what is the capacity of one water tanker? Is it sufficient to service an entire ward, or is it just sufficient to service one little area of maybe 10, 12, 15 streets, for example?
Yeah, I
Okay, I am.
uh, yeah, I
Or are
lost
you
signal. There's
froze? Yeah,
somebody
yeah, that's
phone.
right. Can you start again?
Yes, I'm quite upfront from the word go. I said, you know what, in my ward, I can't do without 3 tankers. Uh, it is, and in this case, it was the worst case scenario. If a tanker stopped, it stood there till it was dry. It wasn't able to move from point to point to point. We did put a JoJo's out, way too little. I had 5 JoJo's out in my ward, which is a buffer. It gives you opportunity for people to get water, and then if you've got the luxury of a roving tanker, then that can go. but a tanker is inadequate, as you rightfully said. What about the elderly? What about the people who haven't got the luxury of hoarding bottles? People were coming with 2-liter bottles. Now, that just explains the direness of this, because if you haven't even got a 2-liter or 5-liter bottle, how
Absolutely.
on earth is this system adequate? Now, what is the alternative? I wish somebody could say to me, look, I must be honest, there were great people in our ward that obviously you will be speaking to Zabir. He ran around, and the Roshni community came out, and they have brought bottled water. I must say, people like the Rangers, who they filled up a water truck and helped my elderly village that didn't have a tanker. And they would, we're looking at building up a, how do you say, Mr. Delivery with water soon, meaning that if you're on a list, let's say we must ascertain or sort out who needs water, and we'll put you on a list, and then you phone in, and we'll go and drop the water. It's difficult. If you understand, in my ward, I'm the only person with a car. If Unless the residents get involved and say, I will help you drop and stuff, I have to rely on companies to help me, which it's not always easy, but we got it
Absolutely.
right. We got through this problem.
God bless you guys for the effort that you've put in here. Um, can we now safely move on from here regarding the repair to the aging infrastructure? Do you believe going forward our water woes are well behind us, or is this an issue of ongoing maintenance so that we don't find ourselves in such a dire situation? We may have interruptions from time to time, on the odd day here, the odd week there, just to ensure that maintenance is ongoing, and we're good to go.
Well, Rand Water has said, and Joburg Water has also said, that this is part of a flurry of jobs that still have to come. I don't think everyone's going to be to the magnitude. I just want to say they said 80% of Johannesburg was out. And yeah, I think they bit off more than they could chew. I think we should have aligned ourselves to the fact that we only had, let's say, plus minus 60 tankers, and we should have planned the job according to that. But look, it's come and gone. Everybody was inconvenienced, or a lot of people were. So at this present stage, there is more jobs to come in, and I think it's encouraging to know that we're looking at fixing the infrastructure, which is aged now, and I think that is quite sufficient that we have to go down that route. I know it's just very inconvenient, and people don't always understand. But we have been screaming, what have they done about the maintenance? They never do maintenance. Now, when they do maintenance and it affects you adversely, then you're not quite happy. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
I
Thank
only
God.
see myself.
Okay, thank God for that. Thank God that they have finally had the common sense to start working on infrastructure. Um, so far you've given me a very positive report back regarding this issue. Let's look on the downside. Have you had reports on possibly, small businesses that were affected very adversely by the water shutdown? And what about clinics, hospitals, old age homes, and institutions such as those? What sort of reports have come through from them?
Okay, for the old age homes, we had a contingency plan. I had managed to get 2 JoJo's in the 2 old age homes, which was quite a blessing, because look, although they have to go and get these with their buckets, not many of them are able to carry 25 liters. So that is something we've got to address, and maybe get a more field staff. And as your radio's slogan says, humanitarian journalism, we've got to maybe start a group like that who wants to get involved, and more than welcome to phone me up and say, look, if you need people in the next round to carry water to the elderly, especially up to its double-story complex where they stay, we're willing to help. I'd love
Wow.
that, and that is how I think we should go. And I think we should have a master plan on how we want to handle a catastrophe or something like this, so that we know who we can rely on. Because at this stage, if I send out a broadcast and saying I need people, I don't know how many people will put up their hand and arrive. So that's the one. The other one, let's discuss the small businesses. There are a lot of people in the area who rely on a car washing service, and I think they were adversely affected. I saw
Absolutely.
one business as usual. I don't want to say he was using the JoJo as his backup plan. I hope I will investigate it, but I also got to be mindful of the fact that water is a basic right, and I'd like to use it sparingly, and I hope that people didn't use it unnecessary. I have a report of people washing their dustbins on the day of the shutdown, which was short-sightedness, and I understand that somebody hadn't communicated to the cleaner or the gardener or the garden services that there's a water outage. That just goes to poor planning and also maybe a lack of communication, which we got to
Absolutely.
accept. But it wasn't excessive, I must be honest.
Mm.
But I don't know of anybody that adversely suffered.
Hospitals, for example, hospitals and clinics in the area.
Okay, the clinics. My one clinic has a very huge. It's got over 10,000 JoJo. It is there, so they have a backup plan. I know they will.
Okay, we seem. I lost you there. I've lost your sound. Okay, I think we're going to leave it there. We've lost the sound on that clip, unfortunately. So it is 2 minutes to wrap up time. Anyway, we will cut that interview. I'm so sorry about that interruption. Let's move on then. We were talking about the impact of the 58-hour water shutdown on communities, and we were talking with Councillor Stuart Marais of Ward 54, hardworking councillor. Thank you indeed, if you are still listening, for all of your efforts for making life easy in your ward. Time for us to move on then, and just a reminder that at 9 o'clock exactly, we'll be joined by our news correspondent, Zai Jadwat, with the Bulletin of the Morning.